Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today we're going to talk about Conclave Arcana starter packs and how I think they will be disproportionately sold, meaning more units will move of those packs than ever we've seen ever before, which will imply a certain thing about commons as well as rares in the context of the modern and the wild league and even survival. And it has implications for all areas of Splinterlands. I think there's something to be talked about here in terms of price as well as value, and those are not the same thing. And so I hope you'll stick around while we talk about this one. If not, check out the next video. Thanks guys. Have an amazing day. God bless. I'm going to move into a conversation now around how many packs are people going to need. And these numbers surprised me. And so I kind of want to share them with you and think it through for myself, because hopefully this will help create an action plan for some of us. And yeah, here's what I saw. If we imagine, come back to the post. So we know that we've got some important data in this post. There's going to be 24 commons, 29 rares, 14 epics, and 15 legendaries, 82 total cards. And we know that the legendary pool will grow because there will be there's going to be 6 player design legendary Archon cards, as well as 1 rare and legendary promo, which the promos will not be included in the pack, but nevertheless. And so there will be more legendaries later on. Regardless, at the start, 82 cards. And then we know the drop rates. And so the standard pack has a drop rate of these 75 for commons, 20% rares, 4 epic, 0.8 for legendaries, and gold foil 2%. The math is more complicated than I'm about to share with you, but if we understand just those pieces of data, we can understand that, like, how many packs one would need to really fill out their legendary or their epic team. Like if you want a max legendary set, it's crazy actually. And same with an epic. We're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of packs to get these maxed out. Now, of course, you can get lucky. You could open a small number of packs and get really, really lucky and get a disproportionate number of drops on the epics or the legends or even gold foil legendaries. But can we count on that? Not likely. And so I think this blew me away how many we need. But let's get those numbers. Let's share those numbers. This is what I was looking at here. If you want all of the epics, can we see that here? Yeah. If you want 14 epics, which there are going to be 14 epics, and you need 46 BCX per epic, that's 644 BCX with a 4% drop rate. You'll need 17,500 packs to do that. And that actually was, I think, if I did my math right, 700 BC. So look at this. To buy 17,500 packs, times it by 4% drop rate, you're going to get 700 BC. So you're likely to get 700 cards of epic, and maybe that distribution is going to be perfect and it's going to enable you to get all 14 maxed out. Or maybe those that you don't get maxed out are going to be level 5 and you're going to be okay with it. You're going to have a few extras of others, but still 17,500 packs, a starter packs is a crazy amount of packs. Times $4 is like, it's almost $80,000. That's nuts. And I know some people got DEC at discounts, but still that's crazy. But then it's more than that if you want the legendaries. Right? It's just the base legendaries too, not the airdrops that are yet to come. The 11 BCX per legendary max foil equals 165 BCX required for your set, which at a 0.8% drop rate would mean that you need to spend 20 to 25,000 regular packs. And that would get you between 160 and 200 BCX, which again would be more than what you require to probably unlock max everything. Probably. Again, RNG obviously all over this, and so really complicates things. But I say that to point towards how insane it is to actually expect to buy packs and unlock these things. But what would happen if you did? Like if you spent $100,000 on regular packs, you would probably get a max legendary set, a max epic set, and you would also get 3 or 4 full common sets, as well as 3 or 4 full rare sets. Now you'd also get gold foils, and that your gold foil set would look amazing, and you'd get some blacks in there too. I think the math on the black foils was something like 1 in 4,000 packs. So you'd get probably 5 or 6 black foils, which are max and super rare and quite expensive. So you'd have a crazy, crazy set if you did that. But I just want to point that to, I want to compare that now, because that seems unreasonable to me. Like I want to do that, but barring a miracle, financial miracle, I'm not doing that. And probably you're not either. The interesting comparison that I want to bring that to, because I want to make a point around starter packs, is that there are 24 commons and there are 29 rares, which means that there are 63 cards out of 82 that are in that set. Think about that. 2/3 of the set is common or rare. 2/3 of the set is common or rare. A huge impact on the meta will be the commons and the rares. A huge impact on the new meta. Yes, we have to agree that. A huge impact will be on what Modern League is, on what even Wild League is. How survival plays out will be determined on Conclave ownership of common and rare. And I know that without ever having tested that, because proportionally speaking, this is a huge component of what this new set is. And we also know that the rares include these amazing summoners. Kalia Silverleaf and Bella Ratajkowski, and not Kalia again. Boom. Razi Clanktrap from the Death, and there's the blue one with the what is the Enrage? The blue one from the Water Splinter brings out orcs and it gives Enrage. And so, did I lose any? I might be forgetting one. Regardless, my point is that these Conclave summoners are rarity, and therefore they fall under that conversation of common and rares. These are, I'm going to say, they've got to be 70% of the impact of the meta that is going to come from Conclave. Just mathematically speaking, I know legendaries are going to be more powerful. Of course they are. I know epics are going to be more powerful. Of course they are. But I'm saying these are going to be a huge part of how you win with Conclave Arcana. And once we agree on that, you have to then understand the financial implications of that people are facing. If they want Conclave and they see the impact and they believe in Splinterlands and they're here for the long haul, and these drop rates translate, to, like I said, you need probably 20 to 25,000 packs to really max out every single thing, legendary, epic, common, and rare. Yes, you're going to get overkill on some of those cards. And of course, there'd be a way to maybe think that through in a different way, where maybe you spend less money, but you buy some of your legendary packs instead of, right? There's different ways to think it through, but there's thousands and thousands of packs, spending 50, 80, 100,000 US dollars on standard packs to get a real full set. Or you go, what could I do with starter packs? Starter packs at 1,000 DEC per pack, $1 in credits gets you 5 cards. And I think this is very, very interesting. Now, of course, there will only regular foils and no common, regular foils, commons and rares. So you can't use potions with them, which I think is probably a sales pitch for most people, because they don't necessarily have potions or they don't necessarily want to think about that stuff. So that's a good thing for many community members or people that will come and become community members. And this price point, to me, considering the impact, particularly of those summoners, drives me to a place where I go, what would it cost me to max out my common and rares with simply starter packs? I did the math. It's going to translate to this. Let's pull up the Discord again. If you want 24 commons at 400 BCX each, that's 9,600 BCX divided by 4, because there's 4 commons in a single starter pack, means you would need 2,400 starter packs to achieve a max common deck. Of course, that's perfect math, and that's not going to happen because RNG. And so you would need to understand that there's not going to be a perfect distribution of commons, and therefore you'll max some earlier, and others will take more packs to do depending on the RNG. So call it 3,000 starter packs. 2,400 would be the minimum that would be possible, and maybe 2,400 is enough because you might have level 9s and level 8s and you're just okay with that. I'm saying that is financially like a far more attainable financial threshold. Let's say that right really clearly. As opposed to tens of thousands of dollars or literally maybe $100,000, you could spend probably $2,500 and you're going to max out your commons and rares. Probably, mostly max them out. If you wanted to spend up to $3,000, I really believe you'd get a max common set. And I think, again, 29 cards was it in the common? Huge factor for survival, tournaments, guild brawls, wild and modern. 100 huge impact. I know they're not everything. I know the epics and legendaries are powerful, but this should not be understated. So $3,000 probably unlocks a full max common set. I think that is financially very attainable for probably a good number of crypto bros, including myself, who are thinking Conclave matters, who want to position ourselves well, who believe in the future of Splinterlands and want to see real success and want to have fun with these new assets. But then where would that put you in the context of your rares? We talked about the summoners, and of course those summoners are worth maxing. And so what would that look like? If you spent $3,000, which isn't $3,000 because DEC is below peg, but if you did that, you would get a max common set, and then that would translate to, like I said, probably 2,400 that would translate to 3,000 BCX. Would probably, hang on a second, 3,000 starter packs would translate to 12,000 BCX because there's 4 commons and that's how it leads to covering you. But then on the rares, 29 rares is how many are available in Conclave. You need 115 BCX per, which brings you to needing 3,335 BCX to max out your rare set. And there's 1 rare in every starter pack, which means you would need to buy 3,335 packs to max it, assuming you got that perfect distribution. Probably you actually need to buy 3,500 to 4,000 starter packs. These are numbers that are large, but I think a lot of people are going to say, okay, yeah, I can get behind that. I actually think there's hundreds of people that'll do that. Maybe thousands. It might even be tens of thousands, depending on the crypto situation and what happens with Splinterlands, the SPS, the DEC, Bitcoin, XRP, by the way, absolutely. And so I think it's really worth doing that, thinking that math through, because it not only might help choose a path for you. Are you going to play regular packs? Are you going to play starter packs? Are you going to go to the marketplace, buy the peer-to-peer Conclave sets or packs rather? Because I do think that you'll get a discount there, probably $3 on a regular set. That brings down your price point maybe by, $10,000 or $20,000 if you're focusing on regular packs. So there's lots of financial things to consider, and there's lots of different stories and roads or paths that we each might walk. But I am strongly looking at this starter pack as a possible reality to financially position myself, let's say, for the least amount of money with the greatest amount of impact in the Conclave world, in the Conclave Praetoria. And I do think that leaves me with one conclusion, that there will be a massive outprinting of commons and rares that has never been seen before, which will translate to a reduction in their longer term price point. And I think, this to some extent always happens, because there's always a distribution of cards in every set where most of the time you're getting commons or rares. So that's why commons and rares are always cheaper. But I think you're going to see a distinction or a unique standard set within Conclave on the price versus value, on the value versus price conversation within those cards. Those cards are meaningful, therefore they will have a value, but their price will be augmented or impacted by, in my opinion, a perceivable, predictable, expected mass production of commons and rares available through starter packs. And I just made what was that, a 20-minute conversation? Probably a 20-minute conversation giving you math on why I think those cards will be accessed, printed, bought, chased after more frequently than maybe regular packs, alchemy packs, or legendary packs. And therefore those commons and rares will get printed at higher rates. But I also think there's another piece to that. and this will maybe be where I finish that conversation, unless you guys have comments on that. I think the starter packs themselves keep going. The starter packs will remain available until the release of the next major set to ensure new players have access to discounted packs. This one sentence has to be a silver bullet to the conversation. Not only did I give you a strong 20-minute conversation around finances and sort of economics and, how one can unlock value by getting 63 out of 84 Conclave cards for the cheapest financial investment. So that justifies buying starter packs by a large percentage of people. But also, this sentence says that starter packs are going to be available until the next set. Is that 2 years away? I don't really know. I guess it would be at least 2 years away, or 18 months to 24 months away. And knowing that commons and rares are not going to hold the same value that the epics and legendaries are going to. In particular, I would argue epics are really going to be valuable because we have legendary packs that make them available, and maybe they'll have a slightly higher print rate than maybe other sets would have seen. But I really think this, while it might not financially carry your valuation, like you might conclude that starter packs are going to give you a strong deck with great cards that are going to be playable and useful and functional, and yet say, I don't know if they're going to hold value in the same way that commons and rares have in the past, maybe particularly with Untamed or Rebellion or Rift Watchers, and yet still think it makes sense to do it. So that's my point. I think you need to think this through for yourself. My conclusion is that these starter packs are worth it in a big way. My conclusion is that I probably want to buy 4,000 starter packs, irrespective of whether I buy 10,000, 20,000 regular packs also, which I hope will be possible. It's going to take a financial miracle, but I hope it will be possible. So I'd love to see comments. I'd love to see what you guys think about that. I really think we're going to overprint commons and rares, but I don't know if it matters. I don't think it matters, because even if we put this within the context of what Chaos Legion was and how those were overprinted, I think we know the story on that too. If we get 10,000 new players, 5,000 new players, even 500 new players that are super excited about Splinterlands, I don't think we have enough Chaos Legion to ultimately satisfy the long-term perspective of where this goes. As you picture land being built out in a fuller way, as you understand the community of players growing, as you recognize that the SPS price will rise and that will drive in new players. There's so many reasons why I'm fundamentally bullish on where this is going that I don't have a concern about Chaos Legion, and therefore I obviously don't have a concern about starter packs overprinting commons and rares, and yet I think they will. I'm not concerned about it either, but I do think what I said is logical and expected. I think those are going to be disproportionately sold. And I think even if I'm wrong on some of the impact of what I just described, I think ultimately them being available for the next 2 years versus the Conclave packs themselves, which will close out in 12 months-ish, that tells me something. Paul says starter packs are a wild card. We have not had them before, so the rares and the commons should be very cheap on the market. I think so too. Is it maybe half? Like, to speculate just totally boldly, this is not founded on math, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were like half as cheap as some of the others. I wouldn't be surprised if the commons were half the price of Rebellion commons. Does that mean that starter packs are a bad value? One should consider that when they're buying starter packs. But I ultimately believe people who buy starter packs aren't thinking long-term value on the NFT. They're thinking joy, entertainment, financial opportunity in the context of all the things that those 63 cards will unlock. $3,000 to buy, $3,000 or $4,000 to buy a max common and rare Conclave set versus $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. That's crazy. That's just they're two different worlds.